And I be slipping again. What up? Not my boobs, apparently. No, wait, not my shirt, apparently. My boobs are up. It's my shirt that won't stay up. It's recording. Awesome. Hey guys, it's Madison Estes. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be writing a story that I've been wanting to write for a really long time. I'm going to be writing this in preparation for Roadkill, Texas Horror by Texas Writers Volume 6, the anthology that I'm going to be editing this summer. This story is essentially a haunted car story. It's about a car mechanic who is hired to fix up Bonnie and Clyde's getaway car. Not necessarily to restore it, because that would decrease the historical value of the car, but basically just to get it running again in preparation for some kind of car show or something. I haven't worked out the details exactly, but for some reason he needs to work on the car and he ends up getting haunted by the ghosts of Bonnie and Clyde. I already have a bit of an outline because I'm pretty sure that at least a part of this story came to me whenever I was listening to Taylor Swift's Getaway Car. And so it gave me some ideas of like a guy who's working on an old car who like gets haunted by some flapper girl or whatever. And then eventually I started thinking, well, you know, this storyline's kind of like Bonnie and Clyde. Why not actually use Bonnie and Clyde? I just really like the idea of using historical figures from Texas in this story, particularly since this story is going to appear in an anthology where Texas is the main theme. One reason why I've been kind of hesitating to write this story is because back whenever my original idea was just like, oh, it's going to be about a car guy who's haunted by some girl from the 30s or 40s or whatever, it was a fictional character, so I didn't feel like I had to do any research. But then whenever I decided, oh no, I want him to be haunted by Bonnie and Clyde, I'm like, these were real people. That kind of makes it a little bit more complicated. I don't mind doing research for a story. In fact, I feel like that's an essential part of being a writer. But I also just really want to get it right, especially since they are such notorious historical figures. I feel like if I make any mistake, someone's going to call me out on it. But at the same time, in my preliminary research, I've discovered that a lot of what we know about Bonnie and Clyde is just pure speculation. And even a lot of the things that are confirmed come from biased sources, so I kind of feel like I can take some liberties now that I've done a little bit of preliminary research and realized there's not as much reliable research on this topic as I thought there was. So I'm going to stop talking about Bonnie and Clyde in this story and just get started. This is kind of weird. This is like the weirdest writing session I've had in a really long time. Like, I have like a couple paragraphs for the beginning of this story, and then it's just like stream of consciousness rambling. There's a lot of good figurative language in this. My brain is just having a weird day today, I guess. Like I said, there are a few lines in this that I like. I really like the first line, which just came to me almost as if through possession. Anyways, dirt and rust caked together under his nails. The car roared to life. Another near-death patient revived. I really liked that line. And like I said, I really also liked that it just kind of came to me like without even thinking. So that's pretty cool. I love whenever that happens. I really like this line too. It's about Bonnie. There was something in her eyes that couldn't be caught on those 1930s cameras. I also really like this line too. Holes littered her body. Her abdomen looked like the landscape of the moon, cratered and uneven. I love that morbid image, and I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, at the beginning of the story, I'm going to compare her to the moon, but in a romantic way, because the moon is often considered a romantic image in literature. And then I'm going to bring this line into the story, and it's going to be a really nice parallel between something that's beautiful and pure versus something that's really morbid and dark. But yeah, as much as I really liked some of the lines that I wrote today, I only wrote like 500 words, which is not a great writing day for me, but it's okay because I don't have like a hard deadline. I mean, obviously I want to get this written in the next couple weeks, but it's not as pressing as my last writing vlog. I mean, I still wish I'd gotten a little bit more done today, but I do like the lines that I wrote, and I don't think I'm going to be cutting most of them, so that's good. So I realized the story is going to require a lot more research than I thought it was going to, even though I'm not going to go deep into research on Bonnie and Clyde. I realized as I was writing that I don't know if antique cars have seatbelts, and I'm like, maybe I should learn a little bit about antique cars before I write a whole story about one. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do some research on antique cars before my next writing session. And it is already 10:30, so I'm going to go ahead and call it quits for today. So it's been a little while since I vlogged. It's been a span of about a month or two between that last clip and this clip. I just had a lot of things going on in my personal life and a lot of client work to catch up on. Not to mention editing Roadkill 6, so I've just been very busy and I have not had time to work on this story. In fact, I didn't even think I was gonna write this story in time. I was like, I'm having trouble with it. I don't want to rush the story, so I was like, I'm just not gonna write it. I'm gonna find something else I've written and just adapt it for the anthology. But then I went to Texas Frightmare and I went with someone to the Parker and Barrow restaurant across from the Lockhart Smokehouse, which, by the way, if you're ever in Dallas and you're looking for some good brisket or sausage, I definitely recommend Lockhart Smokehouse. That is the best brisket and sausage I've ever had in my entire life, and I am someone who was born and raised in Texas, so I know good brisket. In fact, I loved that brisket so much that I actually put it in the story. It's really good brisket, okay? I'm really excited about good barbecue. So Lockhart Smokehouse and Parker and Barrow restaurant both are featured in my story. And I also just kind of liked it because I've actually been to those places, so it's kind of fun for me. A lot of times I write about places that I haven't been to, and this was just really fun to make it a little bit more autobiographical. What happened was we ate at Lockhart Smokehouse, walked around looking for a place to get drinks, made a huge U-turn, and ended up at Parker and Barrow. And I didn't even realize that was the name of the restaurant until I went to the bathroom, and I saw in the bathrooms they had like framed newspaper articles about Bonnie and Clyde. And so I walked out and then I saw the name of the restaurant and that was the theme, and I was like, I think this is a sign from the universe that I'm supposed to write this story in time for the anthology. Like, I just need to push myself. I can do it. I know that I'm definitely gonna probably write a little bit more tonight, even though the story is finished and it's pretty much exactly the way I imagined it. Minus a few things. There is one aspect of the story that just kind of came to me as I was writing, where he's in the getaway car and sometimes he sees the present and then sometimes he sees the 1930s during the time whenever Bonnie and Clyde were robbing people. So it kind of goes back and forth between past and present, which is not something that I even thought about, but it just, you know, kind of naturally occurred as I was writing. So that's kind of exciting. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. So, Getaway Car, I thought that it was done, and it was mostly done. I submitted it to E.R. Bills and Brett McCormick. They both looked it over, and Brett had a few small corrections, mostly proofreading stuff, and E.R. Bills made a couple corrections, and he also added a few parts. He mostly just fleshed out a couple things, like he added a little bit of backstory with the main character. He made him an orphan, and he kind of compared the car to being an orphan and kind of drew a parallel there. He added a line in there about how one of the characters thought that somebody spiked his brisket, which I just love. It just sounds like such a southern idiom, like, you know, he's one horse short of a rodeo, or his cornbread ain't done in the middle. You know, somebody done spiked his brisket. I just love that so much. Yeah, and there's definitely several other things he added. He added several hundred words to the story, so quite a bit of just details that, you know, just made the story feel more full, and he did a really good job with it. And then I went over it and made a few corrections myself, and it feels really good now. Like, I'm super satisfied with the story. Sometimes it's just really nice to have someone look over your story and, you know, notice some parts that you could have fleshed out a little bit more, or some details you could add to make the story feel richer. So he did a really good job with that, making my story better, and I'm just really happy with it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. On this channel, I post book reviews, writing advice, horror commentary, and vlogs. And be sure to check out Roadkill 6, Texas Horror by Texas Writers, coming out soon. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later.